computer. And I will intro us today. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, and welcome to the Blurring the Lines podcast, episode number 215. I'm your host, Adam Bell, and joining me as always is my co host, Peter Nikolaidis. Welcome to the monthly podcast, Peter.
I was going to say, how are we going to kick this one off? Because it has been a while. Things happen, and but we are glad to say that we have been keeping up with all of our paid listeners' subscriptions. So everyone who is a paid customer of the show, listener of the show, has gotten every single episode that they paid for.
They are everyone that we've ever recorded and that they have paid for. They got.
Yep. So we're good. So,
Oh,
uh,
how's it going up in Boston?
It's going better in Boston. We had a really hot spell in
Mm-hmm.
July, late June, early July. And that heat wave feels like it has finally broken a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It started when I happened to be up in Vermont last week, though. And so I got a couple of nice runs in on the back roads up near my place in central Vermont. So that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then since I've returned here back, it was about 3 days ago, I had my first uninterrupted, non-stop, non-walking 10K in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So Wednesday morning, I went out and just did a, 10K, 6.25 mile run without stopping. It was work, but it felt great.
Mm-hmm.
And I did about 5 miles today. Also, I stopped at like crosswalks and stuff, but other than that, ran. Certainly not as fast as I was in my fastest time, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much on par with on par with where I was back before I was training for a specific race when I would just go out and do like, 5K here, 10K here. So
So
that's starting to
Robo
feel
knee is
good.
working.
Robo knee is good. Well, Robo knee isn't really Robo knee. Robo didn't have anything implanted, just had stuff taken out. So, shoulder had a patch put onto it, internal a Regeniten patch.
Mm-hmm.
So, that had a little extra material there. But yeah, no, knee's working great. I think since I started recording, I don't think we actually had an episode, but I signed up with a strength trainer. I think
Mm-hmm.
I texted you that, but I don't think we discussed that on this podcast.
Are
So
you feeling stronger?
I am feeling stronger. Yes. So I'm seeing a physical therapist for my shoulder, and I'm seeing a personal trainer for my low body and core work for now. So until I finish PT, I don't do PT.
Ah,
So, but no, I really like the trainer and the sequences that he's giving me, and it seems to be feeling better. My lower body, my legs and stuff feel better already. So I'm pretty psyched. I like how that's going, and I'm even gotten to the point where I feel like I can step back just a touch on my slow carb diet.
mm-hmm.
So taking a couple days off a week now, and not going completely off the rails, but feeling a little bit better about it. Like today it's been all slow carb compliant. I had a bowl of tofu, spinach, black beans, and onions for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Not very glamorous. But last night we went out and had a like hit a little barbecue place, and I absolutely indulged in a cheesy bowl of cheesy grits and stuff. So, but I didn't get the biscuits,
Yeah.
so I didn't go completely off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
So, about
Okay.
you, what's up with you?
Oh, I've had lots of things come up with me. I've been to Mexico and back, sold my company and back. And
Little things like that.
little things like that.
So I think we need to drill down on that one. Because while you and I have privately had several conversations around this and the pros and cons of going back to, working for the man as opposed to being the man,
Yeah.
I think we haven't touched on that. And that definitely seems like one of those blurry lines has been crossed.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been approached. I mean, IT companies are constantly being approached to be purchased, whether they're any good or not.
Hmm.
But I've gotten lots of approaches, and I've gotten some offers, and some of them are like, well, we want you to be at X size. That's the size that we're looking for.
Hmm.
And so I've been a part of the 20 since 2018,
And what
and
is
they've
the
been
20?
the 20. And
What is the 20?
the 20 is a cooperative group of IT businesses that are able to, like any cooperative, we're able to buy things together and get a good deal on them. So, for an example, our RMM tool, which was Kaseya, is Kaseya. We're able to buy that through the 20 at a much better price point than an individual IT company can do.
Hmm.
And it gives us a lot of negotiating power. And then, kind of the purpose behind it too is we have the tools and then we also have the support for one another. So if you and I were both in the 20, you might throw a question out there of, hey, I'm having a problem with X, Y, and Z. Is anybody has any expertise on this? Because my team doesn't know how, and then somebody would answer. The same is true if I had a client in Boston or you had a client in Nashville. You're like, hey man, I need to get you to go over and take a look at this. I can't do it from remote. Can you help me out? And of course, that's not free. I mean, I would charge you for that service, and it's a fixed fair price service based on the market.
Hmm.
But you would have, even if I charged you $200 an hour, that's cheaper than you hopping on a plane and coming down, you know. So,
Sure.
so it's of course we don't charge $200 an hour, but so that's how the cooperative works. And so I've been part of it, and it's been advantageous to me being a part of it, because I get these cooperative pricing and all the things that I mentioned. And they're doing a process where they're rolling up members into the group. So if you meet certain criteria and you would be a good um, roll up into the 20 MSP, then they talk to you about it. So they've talked to me about it twice before, and I turned them down before,
Hmm.
and then this third time, I said yes because the deal was good enough and advantageous to me. And another thing that was important to me that wasn't on the table before was they needed somebody to manage this region. And in previous offerings, they're like, well, you'd be managing this other region. Like, well, I live in Tennessee. I don't want to be in charge of out west in Oklahoma. I mean, because they're like, oh, well, you don't have to go on site very often. But you and I both know what that really means is, okay, I don't have to go on site very often, but when I do, I'm nowhere near home. Yeah,
It's kind of like how I am on call not very often, but only for real emergencies.
yeah.
And suddenly everything's a real emergency.
Everything's a real emergency. So I, July 1, I sold the company, and then we've been working through the process of integrating and building and getting all that stuff sorted out, as well as, making sure the existing clients are being treated well, and also having to explain all the special deals that you have with certain clients of why is this build this way and why, why are you doing that?
Yep.
Uh, so that's been pretty exhausting. Um,
Yep.
but one thing before I sold the company, I reached out to you, and I was like, well, hey, Peter, how was it emotionally for you to work for somebody again after being being on your own for so long as well? I mean,
Hmm.
you your work career has been like mine now. More of it was spent working on your own than with anybody
Yeah.
else.
Yep.
And you kind of gave me some. guidelines and ways to hang in there emotionally. And and that
Mhm.
was a big holdout for me, was emotionally letting go of the company that I built,
Yeah.
and then also not being in charge. Could I not be in charge? I mean, that was a real question I had to ask myself, is I am the boss. Can
Yep.
I live with not being the boss? And
Yep. Mhm.
the answer I told myself was yes, I can.
Okay.
And you know, I'm, to be honest, there's a little part of me that's accepting the challenge that um, I think I would be disappointed in myself a little bit if I couldn't ever work under somebody else again, because I think better of myself. I mean,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? If you have
Yep.
somebody good that you could work for, you are so stubborn and set in your ways that you cannot work for somebody else, even though they're good to work for.
Hmm.
That's a you problem. That's not a them problem.
Yeah. One of my friends who has been independent now, working strictly in security now for, oh, he's been independent. I think it's been around 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
He's like one of the smartest guys I know, absolutely. But he says, like, I'm a terrible employee.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I make a pretty darn good employee when the time comes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, it's just, just tell me okay, this is how we do things. Great, that's how we do things and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So but I think I think I make a pretty good manager. I like managing other folks and stuff and keeping them in line and making sure they're doing what they're, doing, and also advocating for my team when time comes too. So
Mm-hmm. And it
but
is, you know, I I am still the boss though, and it's worked out that way, and which is kind of what I was hoping for anyway, because I'm still in charge of my team. I'm still, and now I'm in charge of the Clarksville team and the Knoxville team and the Jacksonville team, So I not only was, I'm still in charge of the team that I had, and I've gotten more responsibility and more people under me and more locations under me. So I really didn't stop being the boss. I just became a boss with more responsibilities. Now
yep.
I do have management over me, um, but it's they they need the work so bad. I mean, as far as like they need people, good people who can do work, that they're like, okay, if you're willing to take ownership of this problem, it's yours. you know. So, I mean, that's the benefit of a growing. The 20 MSP is a growing organization.
Yep.
So, if you're like I said, if you're willing to do a task, it's there for you to take on. It's not like stepping into a company that's been in place for 20 years and everybody's well positioned and lodged in there, and there's no, like, I want to be the CTO. There's like five people in line to be the CTO before you. I'm like, in line? What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. It's like depending on the size and the structure of the organization, there may or may not be room for advancement and places to go, right? So, you got to just sort of find that out. I mean, thing is, like, in a good organization, the talent tends to bubble up, as you
Mhm.
go. But in a not so good organization, the, other stuff floats to the top. And, people get so-called Peter principle, they get promoted to their levels of incompetence, so there you
uh-huh.
go.
So, yeah, I mean, and overall, I think it's actually going to be good for my company, because I'm not the only person who's going to be taking on more responsibilities. The other members of my team are going to get moved into higher positions as
Hmm.
well. Um, so that's kind of cool.
That is kind of cool.
Hmm.
So, how did your customers take it?
Um, for the most part, like it didn't even happen. I mean, like nobody. I mean, the people who did care, you know, we talked to them individually ahead of time, and they took it really well. They're like, as long as we get to work with y'all and the service quality doesn't go down, then we're happy. So they were very reasonable and rational about it. Um, so that's good. Uh, but I really think that what they're doing is they're like, we'll give you a fair shake, and if the quality of services goes down, we'll find somebody else. I mean,
Hmm.
I think that that's true. I mean, that's kind of true every single day.
Well, minus the getting a fair shake part.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not a given.
So, but yeah, it's exciting. I have more work now than I ever had to do. The good thing is it is more C-level work. Where I I kind of had to do a little bit of everything with my company. I was trying to do the C-level work, but then also being pulled into everything else. And when an escalation got as far as it went, it had to come to me. I
Gotta
mean,
go to you.
and then if it doesn't work with me, then I escalated it to you,
Yeah,
and
it's got to go somewhere.
gotta go somewhere. I need some help.
So that's cool. It's good though that it sounds like most of your clients are, fairly reasonable about stuff like that. And so, and
Hmm.
that's, we've gone through something similar with my employer, which was acquired several months ago, and now it's a bigger my employer.
Hmm.
And when you get to the size of that company, then things go, they take longer, and things can be more complicated, et cetera, et cetera. So
Hmm.
it's but it sounds like you're navigating the standard waters. This is whatever we all go through this one way or
Hmm.
another, so.
Yeah. Well, and really, you we don't have enough time on this earth to accomplish everything that we want to do as far as like growing a company and everything else. We can't all be a Zuckerberg or a Gates, or that I mean, he's somebody like that who made billions on a thing. You know how many people there are that do that, and you know how many people there are that don't ever accomplish that. So everybody else has got to do it the slog. I mean, we got to build business, we got to grow business. We take step forwards, we take step back.
Hmm.
Um, if I want to build a $10 million business, then I really needed another 5 to 10 years to do that. And so that if I want to do that, I could do that. I mean, there's,
Hmm.
but for me, I didn't want to go with venture capital, or I didn't want to give up ownership of the company to accomplish that. So the only way to do that's just the good old fashioned hard work and good luck from here and there, and hustle. So
Hmm.
I could do that within 10 years, or, you know, I could join $100 million company and, grow with them, because, I didn't do it out of the kindness of my heart. I got paid. I mean, I sold my company. I got paid to join them.
Hmm.
And there's good financial reasons to be a part and to be a shareholder in this larger organization. So,
Sure.
I'm able to grow a lot faster with them than I was going to be able to grow on my own.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. Economies of scale and all that.
Yeah.
So, yep. That's
So
cool.
you see that happen all the time. People will join other companies and grow and make a bunch of money and then go start another company much larger than they had to begin with.
Yep. Well, you learn a lot too.
Yeah.
You'll learn things being part of a bigger organization that you can factor into, whatever it is you choose to do next, whether it's lavender farming or managed services
Yeah. Or professional fishermen.
or professional fishermen. Definitely learn a lot about professional fishing. So cool. Well, that's great. Good
Yeah.
news. All
Yeah.
right.
So that's good news, exciting, and you know, we'll we'll see how it plays out.
Wonderful. I've got an annoying fruit fly which keeps on bouncing from screen to
Screen.
screen here, and I'm want
You know,
to.
I don't want to break my 4K screen.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to break my 4K or the built-in display on my laptop for that matter. So, oh man. So, anyway, cool. All right. Well, what else we got to cover today?
Well, and I also went to Mexico. Of course, I sell my company, and then 2 weeks later, I go to Mexico on a mission
That
trip.
tracks.
Yeah, but it was on the, in all fairness, it was on the calendar way before the company sold. So, they're like, "Oh, you're really going out?" I was like, "Yeah, I lead the team. I cannot, you know." So, so we spent 9 days in Mexico, on a mission trip with our church down there that we support. We're partners with them. And so we did community outreach and worked construction. We worked to repair the playground there, and as well as, painting the church and doing a lot of general maintenance. And then I think I've mentioned it before, but there are two indigenous tribes that are in that area. So the Mixtecos and the Triqui, and they are um, I forget if both of them or just one of them comes from original Zapotec tribes that then came out. They changed over time, but so they don't speak Spanish. They
Mm,
speak their own dialect, and then there's different dialects of Mixteco and different dialects of Triqui. So
hmm.
it's a very interesting culture, and they're very isolated. And one of the things that we did, we visited four families that we asked if we could come. We didn't just show up at their house, and they're like, "Yeah, come to our house, and you can share the gospel with us. That's fine." And so
Cool.
so we came and we talked to them about it, and we gave them Bibles, and gave them some food, and you know sang a couple songs and hung out, and that was really cool because I've never I mean, we've been around those villages and we help people in the villages, but I've never been personally invited in and then get to hang out with them and talk to them. So that was cool. you know that was unique. It's funny, teenagers, and I've been going there for 21 years. I mean, I've been going to this place in Mexico. And so one of the teenagers was like, do we, is it mandatory? Do I have to get out? I'm like, yes, you do. I mean, whether you know it or not, this is an experience you may never experience this in your life again. So yes, you
Hmm.
must participate.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. That's good though, because people aren't necessarily going to appreciate that at a different, at a certain age, you start to appreciate different things. So
Mhm.
having someone to sort of mentor you and point out and maybe sell, things that you're going to be things that you will wish that you had done, you
Mhm.
know, that's good. Last weekend when I was up in Vermont, I met with my contractor and his wife who are doing all the renovations on my house up there, and they've been, friends of the family forever, and like she and
Mhm.
I were in the same graduating class in high school, so we
Right.
go way back.
Mhm.
And she asked if I might be willing to talk to her son about investing.
Mhm.
And I
Right.
was like, finally, something I can give back to your family after all the good that you've done for mine,
Uh-huh.
So I was like, absolutely. And I don't even remember if I did it before we left the dinner table, probably afterwards. I ordered a copy of the book and I was like, this is going to be our textbook. And I'm going to give him a copy of this. And, we're going to talk about things about why spending 150, 200 bucks a month on debit card fees is not a good idea.
Mhm.
And, like, let's take a look at your retirement plan that he has because he's a diesel mechanic, and he's got a 401k at work,
Mhm.
but he's spending, he's got an account on Robinhood, and I'm like, we can do better. you know? So anyway, yeah, that's my plan is I'm gonna meet with him for the first time tomorrow and just give him my completely non-professional but hopefully invaluable life experience that I can, bring to the table and teach him a thing or 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Mentoring. I've mentored, kids before in the past, but it was usually like in a school context.
Hmm.
And it never goes great. It's like they don't really want to do it. And, even the project they're doing, it's still a school project. And,
Yeah.
but if, maybe a little bit different now, like, okay, you're actually working and you are, this is your money. You can actually see how much you're spending and where your money's going. And now let's just take a look and let's look ahead like a month, a year,
Hmm.
30 years. Because I tell you, if I had started investing the same percentage that I'm investing now,
Hmm.
I wouldn't be working anymore,
Yeah.
you know? But I didn't. I waited until I was in my, I don't know, 30s, 40s or so.
Oh, wow.
And, to really start. I mean, I had stuff and I would put, contribute whatever, but not really as aggressively as I am now,
Hmm.
even though I knew better, right? I mean, I knew like I was told in college, I was in economics class and or a personal finance class. And the teacher gave the example of a guy, who's like 20 years old, you start investing and for like the first couple of years or something like that, you put away this much of your paycheck. And then, essentially you get to like age 40 and then you start and you have to aggressively save so much versus just doing it for a few years
Hmm.
earlier on. And I was like, of course, other things, like houses came along and I was married and had other expenses, et cetera, et cetera. But, still, it's like, if I had gotten this real early start. So
I
anyway,
actually started when I was 19.
yeah,
And I've been pretty faithful about that all
yeah,
along. So,
yeah. Well, they said the best time to start investing was yesterday. The second best is today. So. So we'd be remiss if we didn't ask, were any of your customers affected by the global Crowdstrike fiasco last year?
yeah, you know, fortunately, none of mine are engaged. We don't engage in CrowdStrike at all. Um,
Okay.
but some of my clients, I think it was Paylocity, they couldn't get into.
Yep.
They're like, it's down. What do we do?
Yep.
Like, you wait
One of
for it
my
to come
clients used
back.
Paylocity too, and they
Yeah.
were affected. Yep.
Like you're just gonna have to wait for it to come back. But you're not down because I mean, really, it was just I mean, any one of our tools could be something like this could happen.
Yep. Yeah, that was the thing is, like two of my clients were affected directly, but several others were affected indirectly. you
Hmm.
know. So yeah, there was a lot of that going on.
Yeah, so it was a good time to not be in an airplane or traveling somewhere because we were in
Yeah.
like I was in Mexico and one of the guys with me, he's also in IT and he showed me the map. He was showing me the airplane map. He was like, "This is at 8 a.m. and there's planes all over the whole screen." And then it start, as it pales out, then there's no planes. Like nobody's taking off.
Yep. Not going anywhere. Yep. No, I haven't talked. I'm gonna see my aunt tomorrow up in Vermont, and she's a flight attendant for Delta. So I'm wondering if she has some stories to say. So anyway,
But
cool.
yeah,
All right.
I was glad that really it was just fortunate that that's not our tool that we use, and
Yeah.
it could have been.
But it is fortunate, right?
Hmm.
Because the same thing could happen to Sentinel One or Sophos or Carbon Black, anyone could do the same thing. I was a little a little, but not terribly surprised to hear that today was, Crowdstrike released their report and said, yeah, how it got through their testing process because they were basically, they weren't actually testing the output that was being sent out, right? The update
Hmm.
that they pushed. They ran it through some tests, but they didn't actually test the results like on live systems before that. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, the likely not so heavily disputed number one, endpoint protection
Hmm.
software in the world running, and they say how like, oh, only 1% of Windows systems were affected. Yeah, but those were like the 1% of systems that you don't want being affected by something like
Yeah.
this. So it was pretty, impactful. But to just think that you didn't actually push this to a few boxes before you pushed it out and noticed that, blue screens were happening, huh?
Yeah.
Seems like something you should have done. So,
Well, people are lazy. I mean, they just are.
yeah.
I've worked in organizations. I worked in a development shop, uh, and this was at HCA. This was at a hospital chain, and those guys were really, really diligent about the testing and the stress
Hmm.
testing, and then doing everything else. And they did that. And then I've worked at other places where the development shop, they're like, it worked on my machine. Let's deploy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't, from what I heard, it doesn't sound like they were even doing that.
Yeah. They're just changing live code out there and making it go.
Pretty much, yeah. They were just pushing their updates out. They were tested, but not actually tested on live systems. That's what I heard. Well, we'll see as more, I'm sure, we'll see more findings as they go. But this was just the preliminary write up that I, was hearing briefs on today. So I was like, wow,
Yeah.
boggles the mind.
They got to fire somebody, and it's going to be the janitor who was writing the code that night. That
The
was.
memes were amazing, just watching, like seeing all these people posting, like, guys, I'm really excited. I just, got a job at this new security firm called Crowdstrike, and I just pushed my first production, pushed my first commit into production. I'm really excited. And so,
Let's see
so
how it goes.
yeah, just pushed everything and walked away. So it was interesting to hear though too about that because in general they push it out like globally at the same time all around. So apparently Australia was really hit because while folks here in the US showed up to find things not working, in Australia they were going down in midday, So like you'd be in the middle of business and things go wrong. I guess, yeah, I think that might be more impactful if you're like right in the middle of doing something
Hmm.
rather than showing up for work and not being able to, do anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, anyway, it was interesting to get that perspective though too.
Yeah.
So,
So, well, all right. Well,
hmm.
good
it,
good luck if you're. I mean, you can buy CrowdStrike now. It's on sale. It'll go back up.
I've been hovering over the buy button, but I have a financial, manager who does all that. And, I'm trying to be disciplined. I'm trying to let him do his thing, But I will say I put in an order yesterday at a pretty low price point. Just say, look, if it dips that low, I'll grab it.
Hmm.
I think I put it in for like $253 a share. And then when I looked today, it was still only like 254 compared to like a few weeks ago, it was 354,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I would buy it today at that. Um, personally, because it will
Yeah.
go back. I mean, they're gonna take this dip. They're gonna find the problem. They're gonna write up how they're going to prevent it from happening in the future, and then the price is going to go right back up once
And
people have
yep.
confidence in it again.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Everyone's going to be happy again. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, what would $1,000 be worth, a year
Four.
from now if it goes back to up to 100?
I mean, up 100 more.
Well,
Well, if it's 100
going back
more
to.
per share and you buy it, it'd be like that's $400.
Yeah,
So, but if you buy right, so okay, it's trading at 256 and 53 right now.
it
A
goes up
previous
again.
close yesterday was 254 and 15 cents. I was within 15 cents of buying it.
Mm-hmm.
But, so if I was to just say like right now, if I bought, I don't know, 30 shares, that's an investment of $7,700. And
Mm-hmm.
if a year from now it's up 300 bucks from where it is, that's $10,000. So that's like 3 grand of profit.
Yeah.
So, it's tempting. It's
Mhm.
tempting. Yeah. Yeah. It's tempting.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we're cool.
Yeah.
So I've got an AI question for you. And I can where can I do AI against a spreadsheet? Can I do that in Gemini with Google? Can I do that with um,
That is a
Copilot?
good question. So I think Copilot has an option where you can build that right into Excel. I have seen people posting, this was like last year, and I never actually did anything with it, but I saw a lot of people talking about how to use Chat GPT with spreadsheets and stuff, but I never actually tried it. I would ask it like, hey, can you make me a formula to do X?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't do anything more with that. I wouldn't be surprised if you could upload spreadsheets to ChatGPT, but I haven't tried that yet.
I
So
I
that's an
don't
option.
think you can. Well, I don't think you can with the free one because I think it
Hmm,
says it's a language model only. You cannot upload anything to it, and it can't remember anything.
got it.
But
Got
there
it.
may be one, like I said, maybe because Copilot's a paid for product and Gemini is too. Because what I want to do is I want to take a spreadsheet that has all a bunch of line items. So it says, and it's the line items are associated with the company. So Paradigm has product A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and there's a value for every one of those products. And I
Yep.
want to know the sum of all those products from Paradigm. But I also want to know I want to know the sum of all the products for every company in there. So I want to know Sublimes, I want to know Paradigms, I want to know
Yeah.
the 20s.
Can't you just do that with a pivot table?
I don't know how to use a table.
I only learned how to use pivot tables this year, and it was worth my time. So maybe we should just, maybe not live while we're recording this, but maybe we should just take a little time and just dive into pivot tables.
I, well, since I don't even know what a pivot table is, can
I
you?
didn't really either. It's a way to it's a way to analyze your data. And essentially, it's just a type of report where it slices and dices that kind of what you're talking about.
So
So, yeah.
Microsoft, their answer is what is a pivot table and what is it used for? A pivot table is an interactive way to quickly summarize large amounts of data. You can use a pivot table to analyze numeric data in detail and answer unanticipated questions about your data. It's specifically designed for querying large amounts of data in many user-friendly ways.
There you go. So, I use pivot tables actually for vulnerability analysis. So I'll take results of like Tenable or Qualys scans.
Mm-hmm.
And, all of the vulnerability scanners have ways to present their data. None of them really do everything I want to do. And so I just pump it into Excel and start to play with it that way. And that works out really well for me. So, yeah, I can give you a 5-minute crash course on pivot tables and just show you what it can be used for. But it sounds like it would probably do that.
Cool.
So maybe we should just connect over that. And maybe on that note, maybe unless you have something nifty, maybe it's a good time to wrap up the show and we can pivot over to pivot tables. But
Yes. Yeah. It's like Sheldon Cooper, fun with flags. We're going to have fun with pivot tables.
Well, on that note, dear listener, we are glad that you are back and we're glad to be back. If you want to get a hold of us, you already know how because you're listening to this podcast. But in case you somehow don't know how this got there and you want to get in touch with us, you can find us at blurringthelinespodcast.com. Tell me, Adam, I used to give our social info, right? I'm Nikolaidis. I'm at Nikolaidis at infosec.exchange on Mastodon. I still have Nikolaidis on Twitter, sorry, X Twitter. That's the thing too. Now I've been hearing more and more on news and stuff. They're referring to X as X Twitter, which I think is perfect. It's the former Twitter, right? It's
Yeah.
X Twitter, right? Um, by the way, also, you, Elon Musk. I muted myself so you didn't have to bleep this out.
Thank
I
you.
just, anyway, yeah, you're welcome. Oh, and Mark Zuckerberg, same to you. Anyway, so yeah, you want to get a hold of us, you can find us at blurringthelinespodcast.com. But do you still have your Sublime comp handle on all the socials?
Ah, for temporary. I mean, it's not for much longer though. Yeah, I've still got SublimeComp.com and at SublimeComp, and I'm gonna have to come up with some personal stuff.
You are. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of divestment going on there. So it's okay. It's not as painful. You've gone through a lot worse.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
cool. Well, on that note, dear listener, it's time for us to hit the big red button.
Red button.